Well, we want to welcome everyone to this latest edition of Zoomtime Knowledge. This is a free public education program provided by James Madison University. Today, joining us, we have one of our instructors who also serves as an international programs faculty member at James Madison University, Claudia Veysel. Now I got it right. Usually referred to Claudia by other names. You might know her as Claudia Hannah. But Claudia teaches Mediterranean cooking classes in addition to leading several international tours for the Institute. She's taken groups of members and guests to places such as Turkey and Cyprus. And many of you may have been registered for an international program that unfortunately we were not able to provide during this calendar year. So Claudia may mention some plans about those postponements. We do hope when we get through the calendar year that we will be able to return to our international travel programs in spring 2021. We had 4 which we were not able to fulfill due to COVID-19. And we hope all of you are remaining safe and well during this pandemic, you and your loved ones. It's great to see so many people here, and I really love this opportunity to host Claudia because you could see at the beginning of the meeting so many people saying, "Hi, Claudia, it's good to see you." And it's one of the great things I love about working with her. She's just a wonderful community builder. And that's really why our community exists, not just for education, but this opportunity to feel part of something, to feel connected, and to feel cared for. And I don't know that we have many more people who are an even more generous host than Claudia is. If you've ever traveled with her or you've ever been in one of her classes, she just goes above and beyond to make sure that everyone's needs are cared for. And at this point, I'm going to welcome you, Claudia. You're going to take us on a magical carpet ride through Turkey. We're going to hear some stories about things you and others experienced in September 2019, and maybe get a glimpse of what's ahead, what folks have to look forward to if they participate in an international program in the future. So welcome. Thank you for volunteering your time, and thank you for providing this pleasant distraction during this pandemic.
Unmute myself. There you go. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you very much for that very, very kind introduction. As I've been teaching with LLI for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now, so I feel like you guys are oftentimes family. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity just to reconnect with all of you guys. I do appreciate it. So yes, I'm Claudia, and I know it's so confusing. Hannah Veysel, so just so I make sure you guys understand, Hannah's my maiden name, and it's so much easier to say than my married name, which is Veysel. So for work, I do Claudia Hannah, but everywhere else it's Claudia Veysel. But there you go. But I go by both, so just whatever. Anyway, merhabalar. That is going to be introduction number 1. So I took a group of 24 people to Turkey in September, and it was phenomenal. We went from September 9th through the 21st. We left here in Harrisonburg and traveled by coach or by JMU transport up to Dulles, and then we flew collectively into Istanbul. So the first thing I want to teach you guys is merhaba. That is hello in Turkish. And as we go through this presentation, I'm going to pepper a few of our words in so we can learn together a few words. And just to give you a little bit of background on me, my husband is from Cyprus. That's why we use it interchangeably, and we'll talk about where it is on the map, Turkey, Cyprus, all of it. And so my husband and I, when we were raising our kids when they were younger, we lived in Cyprus for about a decade. So I'm Egyptian and Greek by descent. I grew up in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So I speak Arabic, Turkish, and some Greek. Once upon a time French, but I don't remember that. So that's why it's fun for me to have you guys. So while I lived in Cyprus for about a decade, I was able to travel extensively all in that region. And so when I think one of the fun things is taking you guys back to these countries that I know so intimately, and I have a lot of personal friends out there and connections, and so I get to share that with you guys. So anyway, the idea of traveling to Turkey came about through one of my cooking classes. It was David Smith, and I don't even know if he's on the call today or not. He's not always the best with the internet, with online and checking his email, and I can say that because he's not on right now. But he is the one who was like, Claudia, I've been to Turkey so many years ago. Why don't you guys take us back there? So it kind of grew from that, and it was fabulous. It was, we left on the 9th, and I'm going to share with you guys some pictures and some videos of our time there, and we'll talk about the food and the culture and what we all got to experience. And I know there's a lot of people on this Zoomtime chat who came with me to Turkey. So please feel free to interject. I don't know if you're going to be able to unmute yourselves, but certainly at the end of the call, and correct me if my memory has failed me in something that we saw or did, but I think I went through it pretty clearly. But here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you because my children were kind enough, not kind, I asked them to and paid them to put together a presentation about our time in Turkey. So here we go. It is a magic carpet ride through Turkey. It was September 9th through the 21st, and this is a map of Turkey. And I wanted to show you this, and we're going to get back to this map as we go along. So along the northern side of Turkey, we are bordered by the Black Sea. On the western side is the Aegean Sea, and on the southern side is the Mediterranean Sea. So it is pretty sea-locked. There's the Bosphorus Strait that takes us from the Black Sea into the Sea of Marmara. Now, the first city we flew into was Istanbul, and Istanbul is definitely an east meets west city. If you can see in the top left-hand corner, this area of Turkey is considered Europe. So you're oftentimes on the western side or European side of Istanbul is how they term it, versus the Asian side. The vast majority of Turkey is considered Asian. So they do straddle, and a lot of Turks, and we will talk a little bit about the culture within Turkey, talk about how they are more European if they're more Western focused, and some will say they're more Asian if they are Eastern focused. And it makes for an interesting dichotomy in the country. Now, the first place we flew into is Istanbul, and then we will be talking about the other locations. We went to, visited 4 different cities. We did fly by plane internally to get to them, and by motor coach or bus. And just to let you guys know, down here at the very bottom, I'm sorry my screen is coming up, but we'll show it if it goes away. Down at the very bottom is actually Cyprus. So that's why I was able to travel from Cyprus to Turkey a lot, Cyprus up to Greece a lot, Cyprus. I never went to Syria and Iraq, to be honest with you guys, but down below, so we've got Greece, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Syria, and Georgia are the countries that border Turkey. All right. So here we go. We started off in Istanbul, which was Constantinople. Istanbul is derived from a Greek word that means into the city. So if you guys ever lived in Manhattan, as I did when I was in my 20s, you will know that people just talk about New York as the city. And that was literally what Constantinople was. It was just considered the city because it was so important in Byzantine times. So here's a little video. That's the Bosphorus. This is the Topkapi Palace, which we did visit. And we did visit several palaces, and I'm going to share with you guys some pictures of our travels there too. But I thought this video was a nice introduction into the city. This is San Sofia, or Hagia Sophia as they call it now. This is the Blue Mosque, which is in the photographs. Here we go inside of the Blue Mosque. And it was under renovation while we were there. There are many, many, many minarets that line the golden corn of the country. So here we are. This is our very first day in Istanbul. We spent 1, 2, 3 days in Istanbul before we flew to the central part of the country. This was our great group of people. You might see yourself in this photograph. You might see some of your friends, but in the background there is Saint Sophia. So in Greek Orthodox times, when it was Constantinople, they decided to build the largest Orthodox church in the world. And this was built, and I shouldn't have said that because I'm trying to remember what they said. And I'm sure Pete, who's on this, can probably ring it out, but we had the most fantastic tour guide who's back in this corner, Sammy. We'll see more pictures of Sammy. He did tell us. But I believe that the San Sophia was built in the 7th century, if I remember correctly. After the country fell to the Ottoman Turks in the 1400s, they turned the San Sophia into a large mosque, and that's when they added these minarets. All right, and then they removed the big cross from there, and it became Hagia Sophia. And instead of fighting over Hagia Sophia, and then what they ended up doing is right across the way from there is building an even larger mosque, and this is called the Blue Mosque. And it's called it because, of course, the color, and it shimmers in the bright Turkish sunlight over there, and it shimmers a gray-blue color. So both the Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia, or San Sophia, stand probably within a few blocks of each other. And when the and now they are both considered museums. They are not open for service, whether it's in Islam or Christianity. They're both considered museums. Both of these are huge tourist attractions, and they are considered part of Old Istanbul or Old Constantinople. They were unfortunately under renovation while we were in there. Both of these huge landmarks were. So our time inside of both San Sophia as well as Blue Mosque were limited. I would say they were no more than 20 to 30 minutes. When I'd been there in the past, we had more time to walk around and hear the echo and see where the mosques were all pointing. The mosque was pointing towards Mecca and the central part of it, and San Sophia, before it got turned into a mosque, was actually facing Jerusalem. So the altar has shifted. For those of us who are, for Christians, know the altars oftentimes face Jerusalem, especially in Orthodox religions. And it then shifted to also now face Mecca. So there is an architectural interest in that. Okay, the next day, or it's spattered throughout, was when we decided to visit our palaces in Istanbul. Now, these are the Topkapi Palace and the Dolmabahce Palace. This is actually a gold, and you'll see, again, friends who are probably on this call as well. These are some of their pictures splattered in with my photos. The gold, this is actual full gold, and inside of here is a sword museum, and it has the full armor of the Ottoman Empire, and they had the full swords and armor of the Ottoman Empire over the centuries. Beautiful. You couldn't take photographs inside of it, but a lot of people often did. But Dolmabahce means it's inside of the bahçe, inside of the garden. So it's an internal palace. And the Topkapi Palace, which is this one right here, was actually built more recently. So the palaces, the Dolmabahce was built in the, I knew I shouldn't be talking numbers until I could remember them. It was built, I believe, also in the 9th centuries. Forgive me, I can't remember this one off the top of my head. But the Topkapi Palace, what happened was these palaces were a lot older, and people did not, the men and women, the harems and the princes and pashas at the time, the royal family, were getting tired of living in these older, drafty palaces. So they built the Topkapi Palace in the late 18th century to replicate the European palaces of their French counterparts and their British counterparts. So it had much more of a modern feel. Okay. what I found interesting about some of these pictures, so on the left right here, if you can look carefully, there is a part right before we get into the underground basilica or cisterns that are underground of all of Istanbul. There is a really cool sidewalk. So remember how I told you that Istanbul in Greek literally meant the city, going to the city? It was kind of the Rome of the ancient world. So if you look carefully, it'll say Lisboa, which is Lisbon, and it's 3,000 kilometers, 3,800 kilometers, that central point of old Istanbul to Lisbon, Portugal. Sorba, I can't remember some of these, Anguilla, and these are all going to be in ancient Caracas, Venezuela. So that's there. This is how they had thought Sarajevo is actually this one, if I remember correctly. And it's 1,000 kilometers from Istanbul. So it just showed us how important the city of Istanbul and Constantinople was to the ancient world. Now, this is all above ground. When you lead into these steps underground is a cistern that was filled with water once upon a time. And it was actually the drinking water that was used for the city. And then there are waterways all across of what is now modern day Turkey, which would deliver water to far-reaching locations. What was interesting, and nowadays it has a beautiful echo and people are using it. Right now it's a tourist location, so a lot of us were able to go and take photographs, very dark, very musty. But I have been there when they actually turned these cisterns open to the public for musical concerts. And you can oftentimes on a busy Istanbul city evening hear the sounds of jazz or classical music wafting up the stairs into the city through these cisterns. And they're free to the public, which is pretty cool. This is Medusa. So some of these columns started to rust over the years and had to be replaced. And this one was one of these in the very back that had to be replaced, and they replaced it with a Medusa. She's an upside down Medusa. And I thought that was a pretty cool photo. All right. This same day, we also had, these are very long days, and forgive some of this. We decided to take a cruise along the Bosphorus and with the Turkish flag and everyone taking naps. It was a 9-hour flight, so a lot of us were very tired. Over here, we have the afternoon that we spent at the Hora Church, which is an important Greek Orthodox church. Hora is actually a Greek word which means outside. So when you go Hora, that means you're going outside. And right now it is only located within a few kilometers of the cisterns and the downtown area of the Blue Mosque and the Hagia Sophia. But back then, it was considered far away. So it was literally only about 4 or 5 kilometers away, the Hora Church, but it was considered outside of the city. Beautiful renovations are also being formed here. We have, think of the Rome, I'm so sorry. In Rome, somebody can chime in if you guys can remember where the Pope lives, and I've been myself. Anyway, that's what this church is filled with. The icons and in golden gild, that was all through there. Okay, on a separate, later in the afternoon, we decided, or actually it was in the early morning, we decided to visit the Grand Bazaar. And I'm gonna share with you guys just a little quick video on the Spice Bazaar and the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul and share with you guys some of the things we purchased while we were out there.
Did you know that there are more than 3,000 shops at Grand Bazaar? Come and become part of something bigger, magical.
And that's a little bit of advertisement, I guess, for Turkey. But I thought some of these videos were able to capture a lot that maybe some of our photographs might not have been able to. So here we are, we're shopping at the Grand Bazaar, and it is huge, as the advertisement said, 3,000 miles. There's 3,000 feet throughout there, and there's more than 3,000 shops, forgive me, and there are multiple entrances. So we had to remember that we were going to be entered through this bottom picture here. So all of us stood outside, and there is yet again another large mosque right outside of this doorway. The Grand Bazaar is one of my favorite places ever. There are two things that there are two main items or two sections to the bazaar where you can buy your spices. And when I say there are more teas and spices than you can possibly imagine, from cumin to different types of peppers, different teas, different coffees, more flavors and scents that waft up to you than you can ever imagine. A lot of soaps and loofahs and all that were purchased at the Spice Bazaar. And then the Grand Bazaar, this is where we purchased coats, leather goods, where you can purchase rugs, where we purchased scarves, where we purchased jewelry. And I'm gonna share with you guys some of that. So one of the things that I personally bought, I'm gonna turn my computer around. I hope you guys can see both me as well as my, and again, let me know, although you guys are muted, I'm not sure how. I was able to buy this really cool chess set. And I think maybe one other person in our group did as well. Very heavy pieces. This was my Christmas gift, one of my Christmas gifts to my son. They are made of copper and silver, and then with a hard, this is not marble. I wanted to buy a marble set, but I couldn't. But this is a nice heavy wooden set, and that was one of the ones I was really worried about on the plane ride home, whether I'd be able to fit it into my luggage. So this is one of the things that I did buy while I was overseas on our travels. Again, think of coats, shoes, scarves, leather items, Turkish coffee sets, and this is one of the ones that I'm going to be sharing with you guys as well, because I'm going to teach you guys, take a little break and teach you how to make some Turkish coffee, which is what I want. And I'm going to send a quick note to my kids to come upstairs and help me with videoing this. So here we are. On the right-hand side was some of the jewelry that we purchased. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because Turkey is very interesting. It has it's got one main religion. Islam is the main religion in the country, as many of you guys know. Not everybody's covered. It is considered more of a relaxed religion. And it really is split. There are secular Turks and there are non-secular Turks. Kind of like here in the States, we've got our Democrats and our Republicans, but they're even further away from one another than we are. And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people joke that even though there is the vast majority, I think 98% of Turks are Muslim, not everyone is a practicing Muslim. Certainly not everyone covers. Not everyone goes to mosque on Fridays, but everyone believes in the evil eye. And we found throughout Turkey, people wear the evil eye in the form of these bracelets. And by the way, I got one. I think many people who were on this group did end up buying some evil eye bracelets as little gifts for their family and friends back home. I think this is the one. I had one very similar to this, but it was made of white gold. And there are some silver ones as well, and some plasticky ones with just these little evil eyes. And we found these trees in several locations as well. So the evil eye is supposed to ward off, and so it ward off the evil eye. And every time we entered a restaurant or a hotel, there would be at least one in your, right there so that we could all see, very visible, evil eye. And that was almost like a joke, even for Turks. They recognize that while Islam is their religion, that really it's the evil eye. And it really is to protect themselves. They feel, interestingly enough, you can buy some little evil eyes and pin it onto your baby or young child's shirt so that it is, again, visible, so that if anyone looks at something and thinks, wow, I really wish to have Claudia's house, or that baby is super cute, or whatnot, there is the evil eye is supposed to protect against the jealousy, and that's where it's coming from. So a lot of us purchase these little evil eye bracelets to take back home with us. And we'll talk about a couple other religions in a little bit. And one of them is this one. This is our Turkish coffee. This is also considered a religion. Now the picture on the left is the coffee pot that was purchased while we were overseas. And I'm actually going to take you in to my kitchen and show you how we make Turkish coffee, because I hear that that's really interesting. Now, I want to share with you guys the picture on the right. That is actually the size of a little Turkish coffee. And we drink Turkish coffee. And by the way, we call it Turkish coffee here in the West. And that's kind of the name that's been adopted. But this is just simply coffee for them. It is completely black. It is only a couple of ounces. And if you were in Greece, they would call it Greek coffee. If you were in Cyprus, they would call it Cyprus coffee. But it's literally the same coffee. So I'm going to take you into the kitchen. I am going to get out of this screen sharing mode because I am not sure if you guys can see me. And you guys, now that we're out, can you see me while I was still in that spread, or can you only see me now? I couldn't tell.
Claudia, we saw your video feed as well as your presentation.
Great.
And if we get back in the presentation after we go to your kitchen, I think,
right.
I will make sure you're in the right presentation view too.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that because I couldn't tell if you guys could see me or not. So I'm taking you into my kitchen because I've been told that a lot of people are interested about Turkish coffee. And so I wanted to share with you guys a little of the difference between regular coffee that we know here in the States and Turkish coffee. So here we go. You need several, you need the jezve. This is what we call a jezve. And this is how we actually drink our coffee and we cook our coffee. You need the cup that goes with it. This is mine. It's not as pretty as the one that was in the picture before. And you need the actual coffee. Now, it is not the same as taking regular coffee. I'm going to share with you guys what this Turkish coffee looks like. It is much, much finer. Can you guys see that? I'm not sure if you can. It is much, much finer, more ground than even an espresso roast that we can get. When you say finely ground in the States, this is kind of different. So I wanted to share with you guys how it's actually made. So I'm going to turn on my stove. You cook everything in one little pot and you let it, and it's gonna take a little bit of time. But I've already measured out, you pretty much put water in to your cup and you place it into your jezve. And now it's like, how strong do you like your coffee? I like mine strong. So you put a nice rounded teaspoon into your cold cup and you stir it up, okay? And it's not gonna stir completely while it's cold water. I'd already measured out that water, by the way. Because it's still kind of clumpy, as you can see there. The water needs to be warm to absorb the coffee grinds. And we place it on our stovetop. And slowly, as the water warms up, we're going to continue stirring it. All right, we're going to continue stirring it. Now, as we stir it, and there's no easy way to do it. I asked for my kids to come up and help me because I needed 2 hands. They're teenagers. So. I will show to you guys what it looks like at the end. Now, I wanted to share with you guys something that's really fun. This is a little espresso cup that I got while I was in Italy. And this is a Turkish cup, which I got while I was in Turkey. All right, so do you guys see the actual size of this? The Turkish coffee cup is larger than, this is a darling cup, so try not to get sidetracked by how cute this cup is. But it's actually a lot bigger than an actual espresso. So when you drink if you've had an espresso before, friends, you'll know that you drink the entire cup of espresso. There's no grinds in this. And when we drink our Americano, we drink our filtered coffee here in the States, the coffee has actually been filtered. The actual coffee grinds has been filtered or pressed down if you're doing a French press, or in that little filter if you're making it, and you don't have the grinds in your cup. The reason this is a slightly larger, although they will have about the same amount of liquid, is when our coffee is done, we're putting the whole coffee into this cup, and when we're finished with it, we are going to have a little bit of grinds left. Okay, so I'm going to, and a quick little thing about Turkish coffee, you're supposed to drink it a couple times a day. The word for breakfast is literally kahve altı in Turkish, which means after coffee, kahve altı. So you're supposed to be having your breakfast, and then you have one coffee directly after your breakfast. You have a lunch, and directly after lunch, you have another Turkish coffee. You take 2 a day, really not a third, and this is the amount of caffeine you're going to be getting. It is only about 60 milligrams of caffeine in this versus, think of your Starbucks, even if it's or a regular cup of coffee that you might have, it's usually got about 200 milligrams of caffeine in it. So it's a lot less in quantity. So you're taking 2 to 3 Turkish coffee a day. Now, while that is still making, and I'll drink my Turkish coffee with you guys throughout the rest of the presentation, and then I'll share with you the second religion, and I say religion very loosely, for you guys afterwards. So let me get back into my screen share because you don't need to watch me while I am preparing. And what we're doing with is this word right here. So this is Turkish coffee, and this is our fall. Fall is, how do you describe fall? It's a Turkish word, which means your future. And it's so crazy, but I will share with you guys what it means. Just remind me when we get back to it after I finish drinking my Turkish coffee. So you guys all still see me, yes? Okay, I think that was a yes. All right, so let's continue. So after we've spent 3 days in Istanbul, we took an airplane and we flew by night into central Turkey. This is Cappadocia, and we actually flew into this city airport. It's called Nevşehir, and then we took a bus from here to here. So we had a separate bus driver here, then we had another bus driver who took us around Cappadocia, and then we took our third when we moved out to the western side of the country. So we spent our time in Istanbul, we flew central, and then we spent the rest of our time on the western coast of Turkey, where it shares a border with the Aegean Sea and a lot of ancient Greek history. Cappadocia is a really cool city. Let me share with you guys right now. Oh, hold on. Let me just share with you this. This is what my Turkish coffee looks like. It starts to boil over and it's done. So I'm going to pour this into my cup, and it's already been pre-measured, right? And voila, my Turkish coffee is complete. I'm gonna turn off my stovetop and take you back out into my sunroom, and I'm going to enjoy a coffee while chatting with you guys. While we're doing that, and I'm getting set up, how about I let you watch about Cappadocia? it is the central part of Turkey. We did fly here. It's a region scattered with really cool rock formation. And because these rock formations, they've given it the nickname of fairy chimneys. And hopefully you'll be able to see what we're talking about shortly. So here we are in Cappadocia. So these are the fairy chimneys on the left. Can you see that they've been carved out? If you can look carefully, there's actually a balcony. This is someone's home. I'm not sure if this is multiple people's homes, in all fairness. They're quite cavernous, they're quite cool. This is one of our tour group members who joined us, and the valley below her. But these formations and the sediment of the rock was, in addition to being breathtaking, and this is where, if you ever see photographs of Turkey with hot air balloons, this is where they're being done, because it's absolutely beautiful. I have to say that my group wanted to take a hot air balloon, but we couldn't get in. With a group of 24 people, there was just simply no room for us. They had to be booked, I think they were saying at least 9 months in advance, and I didn't realize that. So unfortunately, we couldn't have taken a hot air balloon ride. But inside, people do live in these rock formations, and they also have built churches over the years in these rock formations. So one of the cool things we were able to see is how people live inside, and we were able to go, and I'll share with you guys in a moment the pictures on the right and on the bottom, but we were able to see temples where people were able to worship over the years. And again, absolutely beautiful. They have the same pictures of the apostles, the Last Supper, the crucifixion, the Annunciation. All of them were depicted in small churches. When I'm saying small, literally a little room that you would walk in and say your prayer and walk back out. A very humbling kind of lifestyle as well. We were able to enjoy one of my highlights. We had phenomenal food while we were in Turkey, but one of the highlights that I had was this lunch inside of these people's homes. So this gentleman, and this is his wife and his daughter, they prepared us a very simple lunch of a salad and a soup. And that's another thing that I want to talk about, and I share this in my cooking class a lot, is that every single day in the Mediterranean, you will have a salad, and every single day in the winter time, you'll pretty much have a soup, almost as a starter. So think about all the vegetables and the volume of liquid that you're going to be having, just nutrient-dense foods that are a part of it. So we had a soup and we had a salad, and then I think she made us some beans, a stew of beans with some meat inside here. And then we had a lot of, if I remember correctly, watermelon and cantaloupe. I don't even remember all this, but just a fruit for dessert. And then I think Turkish coffee for those of us who wanted. I always get a Turkish coffee at the end of my meals. So that's us. This gentleman right here he spoke a little bit of English, and he loved to talk about how he was, and he brought me into his office, and he has a picture of himself in a newspaper. I can't remember if it was a New York or Chicago-based newspaper. He had spent some time in the United States, and he said that he looked like Anthony Quinn. Very super proud of himself, but it was great. And so we got to see how people lived on the inside. I love these pictures. So the day that we were in Cappadocia and we had gone and had lunch here, this was Nancy, I hope you guys don't mind, and Pete, they were walking. I took this little picture of them and I just absolutely loved it. But as you can see, this is, their home was quite far away from where our bus was. You had to walk through this dirt little path to get back to our bus, and a storm was coming in. This right here is yet another rock formation, and I can't remember and recall if these are homes and windows and balconies, but they may sure have been. There was a storm blowing in, and this donkey, which must belong to someone because it has a harness and whatnot, was just running wild, and I saw him running in away from the clouds, if you can see that there were some clouds. And this little lady, it was just so sweet. She took off a little piece of branch and fed the donkey right in front of me, and I just quickly took a pic. I don't think she was with this picture. But do you see that sweet face on her? She's just smiling lovingly at this little donkey that was just out. And we also spent, I love this lady as well. Nana was a really good sport. I hope she doesn't mind this picture. I think she looks adorable and hilarious. We went to a ceramics pottery place. Oh, I should show you guys what we got from there. But they were teaching us how to make ceramics from, well, from a Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore video, it looks like, but then it was all hand painted, and they showed us not only the process of creating it, but how where people were actually painting the pieces afterwards. So I wanted to share with you what I got, one of the pieces. And this is, what can you guess? It's so hard. You guys are all on mute, so you might be guessing, and some of you guys do know anyway. This actually is modern, but it is replicated on an ancient way that they used to serve wine. So it's all glazed on the inside, and these have all been hand painted. So I don't know if you can see the actual workmanship on it. I'll try to bring that closer to you guys. But there's actually little of those evil eyes that I was talking to you about. There's tiny little evil eyes all through them. There's little bumps. And I just thought it was super cool. So it actually shows that it was hand painted underneath right there. But there are eyes everywhere. The way, this is a smaller one. They actually had me, the ceramics owners were like, who wants to stand up and show what you guys think this is? And so I always thought that you would serve the wine like this. They had a much larger one. What they actually used to do in the old days is you'd put your arm through here. And if you can see me, pour wine like this for your guests. Isn't that pretty cool? Sadly, I haven't used this with my friends yet, but here's the little cup that comes with it. Okay, so if I'm not drinking coffee, then I might move into this a little later. Quarantine time with teenagers. Okay, so that is what's going on there. Thank you, Donna, for allowing me to use your photo. Okay, another day, on our second day in Cappadocia, we not only went to these interesting rock formations that are all over Fairy Chimney and the Open Air Museum. It has an underground city. So the same kind of lime sediment created these underground cities. And we only went to one portion. So early Christians used to hide underground from people who didn't want them, didn't want Christianity to spread. And so these people lived underground. And so what we were able to see was their homes, which is on the left, doorways, and these doorways are so small. And then this boulder right here was taller than 6 feet high. And when they saw invaders coming, they would press. There would be some guys on the lookout, and they had an intricate way of communicating to one another that invaders or people were coming. So quickly get underground and roll this boulder. And so you'd have some young men who would be at the top before we got underground. And these underground cities would stretch miles and miles. And sometimes they'd have to stay down there for months on end, months underground. So they came up with an elaborate system in ways that they can cook. And if I remember correctly, this was a kitchen. That's why it's blackened right here, where there was some food being cooked. There was elaborate ways to get rid of waste so that you weren't living in your own with sewer right next to you, because they recognized that would get you sick. And then there was ways to get food sent by, so if they needed refreshing, a lot of the food would be kept underground. And of course, if they had to kill an animal there to cook so that their families, this is more than just families, these were cities that were underground. But people would stand at the boulder and push that through as invaders were coming in to protect the people underground. And once they got into position, they would then, by the time the people on the other side were able to roll that boulder back out, they would be prepared to either shoot them or sword kill them. I shouldn't say shoot, but kill them to protect their population as well, in the case that they came looking for them. So this Pamukkale underground city was and it was hard. So if you couldn't breathe, if you got claustrophobic, because we went a couple floors underground, it was amazing to watch. We then drove, and we took a quick stop at a camel caravan. And there's Johnny. Thank you, Johnny, for allowing me to use that photograph. So this is a camel hotel, and it was really cool to be in it. This is a pit stop for where people on the Silk Road would be, merchants on the Silk Road would need to take a break, and they would come in and yeah, so I'm looking at the time, I think I'm chatting too long. So yes, just Silk Road hotel for camels. It really did exist, and that's us in it. All right, so we flew from here to here. We spent several days here, and then we took a bus across to Ephesus and Selçuk. This is where we stayed. So this is our third hotel of our time. And in Ephesus, this is a great city. It's an ancient Greek city on the western shore of Turkey. The Temple of Artemis, there's a library, a famous library. It was the second largest after the Alexandria, Egypt library was located here. And if you guys have heard of Efes beer, Turkish Efes beer, it's produced also in this city. I just finished my coffee, by the way. And remember how I was talking to you about there was something called fall? I'm going to share with you guys the second religion after the evil eyes. It's your fall. When people read this, they read their Turkish coffee grinds literally. So I'm going to, I can't believe I'm doing this for you guys, share with you all what happens. So you're supposed to, with your right hand, I have no idea if it really matters, but go 1, 2, 3, flip it upside down. Do you guys know how Indians read their tea leaves? If you don't know, that's another topic. Zoom knowledge chat. This one's going to be reading our Turkish coffee grinds when it's done. That's religion number 2, maybe 3 if you consider Islam. Okay, now this was our hotel room. I'm so sorry, it's a little blurry by the time I got the pictures in. We spent some time in Kuşadası, which means Kuş is this word, and Adası means island. So it's Kuş is bird and Ada is island. So it's Bird Island. This was our Bird Island. This was our hotel room that looked over a marina. And this was a cool little picture. Do you see how that's multicolored and it's a little bit further away? I thought this was a great little story that Sammy, our tour guide, told us about. He was our tour guide for our entire time on the island, in the country. Ooh. It's kind of a ghetto, to be honest. It was supposedly a poor, rundown section of Turkey, and what the mayor thought was a good idea was to actually paint the houses different colors, like a rainbow. So when the light shone on it, the sunlight shone on it, it's beautiful location. It would look really, really pretty, but still a ghetto. Thought it was kind of funny. And there we are, just kind of like a couple of our group members chilling out. I think I know where that one is. That's in Lake Bafa. So here we are in Ephesus. We went to 2 Roman ancient Greek cities while we were in Turkey. One was Ephesus, which is the largest one, and the other one is Aphrodisias, which we'll talk to you about in just a minute. They're all within, I don't know, a few miles of one another. I shouldn't say few, but 50 kilometers, I believe. This is the amphitheater that we all had turn to come and speak and see how loud the amphitheater was. Theaters and government and discussions were being held. What I thought was really cool about Ephesus was this is literally where St. Paul came, St. John, forgive me, came and spoke and proselytized. And so for me, feeling like he was standing in that exact same spot where I was standing, and was able to speak to the crowds and try to get them to convert into Christianity. It was the first place that he went to after the death of Egypt. And the reason I talk about that is because in our next slide, we're going to go see the house that he built for St. Mary, for the Virgin Mary. This is the library of Celsus that we talked about. And then this up here was just kind of something that Sammy had brought up. And for those of you guys who are joining me who are on the trip, you'll remember this. This was it's like a footprint. And basically it was showing the way to the brothel. And it was right next door. There's a secret way to get to the brothel from the library. Is what we understood. And the size of the footprint meant how old you had to be to kind of get in there. And so if you were kind of a young man and you were not supposed to be there and you don't have a larger foot, then you're just don't even try to go. And then the direction is towards the left. And I think there might have been one more thing. So I thought that was an interesting little thing to share with you guys. Ephesus and St. Mary's home. I love this. This was also at Ephesus. This is the goddess Nike that we're all familiar with. You know, the Nike sign. It actually was taken from her wing right here. Their little check mark. It's actually taken from this little guy right here. This is the street in Ephesus. And down here is St. Mary's house. I wish more of us had taken pictures. It was the end of the day. There weren't any good pictures to take, but it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's believed to be the final resting spot of the Virgin Mary. And also, it was hard to take pictures. It was such a solemn experience that you didn't want to desecrate it with just photographing all the time. The next day, we went to some vineyards. And I thought this woman's face was fantastic. Thank you, Archie, for allowing me to use it. This is Dave, if I remember correctly. After they went to the vineyards and had a great day in some of the villages, they got, I guess, and it was out of the way places, but I guess word had gotten out that Americans were coming, and they were swarmed by these locals coming to try to sell more trinkets and they were all very polite. Nobody was pushy. No one felt unsafe, any of that. But I thought it was a great picture. There's like the sea back there, the olives, all these women, and then they're all swarming for David out there. Okay, so here we are. We flew from Istanbul, Cappadocia, took a bus to Selçuk, spent the day in Ephesus. Now we're in Pamukkale. Pamukkale means cotton castle in Turkish. It's a natural site, and it's where Cleopatra, the actual Cleopatra, was said to have bathed in thermal baths looking for her fountain of youth. So we'll do this. This is 2 minutes. I might not do a whole 2 minutes. You'll get what I'm saying. There is a museum in Hierapolis, which is the city of sun, that we were able to go to as well. But the site has the tomb of Philip the Apostle. So here we are. I really love this one picture. There's somebody who's getting married there. This is just a normal Turkish couple, and we got some photographs of them at Hierapolis walking to Pamukkale. They're all within a couple, they're like a kilometer from each other. So half a mile. So you walk through Hierapolis to join us in Pamukkale. So that's my foot, sorry about that. But I wanted to show you guys, this is the mud baths, and everybody would go once you got further in it, and kind of gross in the very beginning because it's where everybody would stand. But as you move further away from the the crowds and got into this location where it was, but it's very slick. So not everybody went all the way to the edge of the baths. I did go. It's so soft and powdery, this snow-like, but it's mud you placed it all over your legs, and then you sloshed it off with the clean water, and it was really cool. To the right is our hotel had a belly dancer at night, and I just thought it was kind of funny. So it was a little entertainment. Wanted to share with you guys. But yeah, it's not really part of the culture as much. That's more of an Arabic culture, but they do adopt it for tourists. Aphrodisias is the second Greek city that we went to, ancient Greek city that we went to. Also had amazing ruins. Ephesus is well known. People go to Ephesus. Personally, I had never been to Aphrodisias nor heard about it. Our travel agent, who was a friend of my husband's cousin, that's how we were introduced to this particular agent, who I think did a great job creating a very customized package for us. He told us you must stop there, and I'm so glad that we did. It had a really cool museum. It was not crowded at all, so we could explore the whole city by ourselves. And of course, Sammy did a great job. There was giving us the background on Aphrodisias. There was a beautiful, and I think they were Korean. There was a Korean Christian group singing in one of the locations there, and it was just so solemn and beautiful and so silent. But this one I thought was really cool. In their museum, which was pristine, and not many people were in there. Can you guys see this? This is literally a gladiator and the skull and how he died with a dagger through his skull. That's amazing. I don't know why, I was just blown away by that. And they found the remains behind this Colosseum, just kind of like thrown over there with other body parts, but I get other bodies that had lost. And I just thought that was fascinating. So it's inside the small museum there. Okay, so again, Istanbul, Cappadocia, we went to Kuşadası. We're now up to Izmir, last couple of days of our trip. Sorry about that, close it. And here we are in Izmir. Couple things. This was from a bus ride. So remember I talked about we have several religions over there. The first one being, of course, Istanbul, Islam, but a lot of people are secularists. And the secularists really believe in Kemal Atatürk. And I say believe because that is kind of how they feel. So this is their Mount Rushmore. There was a face of Kemal Atatürk in the highway, built like right off the highway. And so if you're a secularist in Turkey, you feel very strongly that Ataturk brought them away from the East and facing the West. They turned the alphabet from the Arabic alphabet into the Western alphabet that we do now have. Izmir is Smyrna, the Greek word of Smyrna. Izmir is the city, and this is the drive to it. He said that women were no longer allowed to wear the hijab. They were just not allowed to. Men were no longer able to wear the hat, the fez hat, because all of those were Eastern focused, and he changed it all to wearing West, changing the alphabet. Religion, of course, was still permitted and allowed, but it was not part of your all over life. So secularists to this day love Ataturk, and now there's internal within the country, a lot of people who are trying to return back to Islam, and a lot of secularists are like, no, 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 we want to hold on to our guy who's saying separation of church and state, or separation of mosque and state. So I thought that was interesting. So that's our next religion. And then our last one, of course, is our fall. I'm so sorry that I'm actually sharing this with you guys. I'll get into the church one in just a second. So this is going to basically say, if somebody was really, I can kind of read it in a joking way. I don't seriously believe this in any manner, but since you guys are listening and want to be entertained for a few more minutes, it's basically saying that I have, so if it's really dark at the bottom, which mine does, it probably means that I waited too long before flipping it. But what they'll say is I have a heavy heart, that I've got a lot on my mind and it's not clear, okay? That's what it's saying. There are a lot of lines here, which means I have travels coming up. It's roads, travels. There looks like there's a lady dancing. This is where you just make stuff up, but there looks like there's a lady dancing. So the roads would lead towards a good time. I don't know if you can see the lady dancing. I really can't believe I'm doing this in front of 100 people, but there's more stuff. Oh, there's a lady who's pregnant here. And no, I am not pregnant and I have no desire to be pregnant, but it means you might be pregnant with thought. There's a heart here that's in the shape of a dark heart, so full heart. There's a bird here, which means news will be coming in. And that's enough. Okay, so that's the next religion. There you go. Now, we were able to go to St. Polycarp's Church. This right here was amazing for me. This is a piece of St. Mary's veil, her headdress. They've kept a little piece of it, put it in here, and you couldn't touch it, but you could lean down and give it a kiss if you wanted to. St. Polycarp's Church is one of the churches of the Revelations, the 7 Revelations. And we were able to witness it and go inside. It is a Roman Catholic church. There was a nun in there. She spoke beautiful English. She was Italian. And she was very kind and humbled, but it was so different than the Orthodox churches that we saw. It's much more newer. Not anybody could walk in. We had to get reservations in advance. It was a very peaceful location. It was right in the middle of a bustling Izmir, which is the 2nd largest city in Turkey. Final hotel, which was a great way to end it. We were on the seaside city. This is literally our hotel, guys. Fabulous beaches right there, beautiful pool. I wish we could have spent more time there, just relaxing, just a beautiful time. This is a little Turkish boat. It's called a gulet, which we can actually rent out, it turns out, and do trips on it. So if anybody's interested, let me know. And this was just some of the street fare. So while we have McDonald's, they've got the shawarmas, doner, or gyro, as you guys call it. And look at that. These are red peppers that are drying in the sun. I love me some chili, and that's how they do it. Last but not least, friends were formed. We had the most amazing group. This is our Sammy. His English was amazing. He was our tour guide for our entire time. These are some great friends that were made along the way. A lot of laughter. These are our 4 Davids. We joked, we made them take a picture all together. There's Cindy. And then we got together afterwards for, was it after Christmas time? They got a Christmas dinner together to share some more photographs. So we just had the best group, and I was so fortunate to be able to share Turkey with them. And honestly, this was only the western part of Turkey. I hope to go back. Sammy was saying there's amazing things to see on the eastern side of Turkey, and if I ever wanted to do a trip, let him know over there, because there's supposedly architecturally, historically, culturally amazing things. That's it. I'm sorry if it went long. Unmute them. Do you guys have questions?
Claudia, I'm giving everyone the ability to unmute themselves. I just turned that on.
Where's my picture?
Right there.
Thank you, Claudia.
You're very
I'm so glad
welcome.
you showed us how to make Turkish coffee. It's been one of the big mysteries of my life.
Who said that? I really got to see who said that. Let me try to figure that out. Who said that?
You should know from lunch last week. Yes.
It was you. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, and I'll come over and show you and see something, and I'll read your phone.
No, it's like Rick Steves talks about it all the time on Sunday morning, and I'm like, what is the deal with Turkish coffee?
It was, by the way, blame Am. She was the one who said, you guys, you have to teach them how to make Turkish coffee. I'm like, who wants to learn how to make Turkish coffee? But anyway, if you guys want to come, and I'll get you a jezbe and your finjan and your Turkish coffee, and then you can make it at home. It's kind of fun. And when I have guests over, we do that too. Yes. Any questions? True? No?
Yes, when we're going back.
What do you want?
When we're going back. Hey, Claudia, when are we going back?
Oh, I love you, Cindy and Archie. Thank you for letting me use your photos, by the way. I hope you guys didn't mind. I really want to. So one of the things that we do, we were, as Cindy knows, we were scheduled to go to Cyprus, which is not Turkey. I do think that we need to go back to Turkey sometime soon. But let's get COVID under control and feel comfortable traveling. I'm happy to get away from my kids anytime. So you let me know when you want to go.
That's too funny.
It's so true.
Claudia,
Yeah, yes, who's
That
speaking?
was a fantastic presentation.
You're so
And
sweet.
to have
Thank
been
you.
able to put that together and get the pictures and coordinate everything. Thank you so much. I always, in the past, I was thinking about Turkey at some point. By the time your trip came along, it's too late for me. But anyway, that was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Bev. I really appreciate it. It was an amazing trip. I think the people, if anybody has any questions, certainly, but we've got a lot of people like Archie and Cindy were in the group. I know Johnny and Phyllis, they were there on this trip, and I'm not sure. I think I saw Fran's name at some point. So if you guys have anything to add, Pete, I know was on there, was in the trip too, Pete and Nancy. If you guys have anything to add, I'm sure I've forgotten stuff. Please.
Cappadocia's bedroom.
My dates. What were you saying, Cindy?
I have the picture of them.
Frank,
Ooh.
I enjoyed the refresher.
Turk had a long-term relationship with Zsa Zsa Gabor. I had no idea. Go Google. Or how else you might have known that, I don't know. Who else?
Say you talked to Sam.
Claudia,
Yes.
this is Johnny.
Hey, Johnny.
I just want to tell everybody, if you get a chance to go on a tour with Claudia, definitely do it. She's great.
Thank you. I try to take it back, like you guys are coming back to my old stomping grounds, so places that, you know, that I want to share with you guys, like kind of the best of. So thank you for saying that. Who can help me? I totally probably got my dates wrong for the Blue Mosque and San Sofia, Hagia Sophia. Did I, Pete? I'm sure you know it, and I didn't. And I was like, oh.
No, I don't remember anything.
Anything.
I needed this as a refresher.
I know, right? I did too. I did too. It was great doing. I actually really enjoyed doing this presentation again because it brought back a lot of wonderful memories. By the way, one of the questions I got over and over again before we traveled was, is it safe? And I want to bring it up. Guys who traveled with me, did you feel like it was safe?
very safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very safe.
Yep.
Absolutely.
No threat at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Honestly, it is. I did not feel
Cappadocia was.
by any means like there was anything uncomfortable about it at all.
I know.
It's a great country, and it's also, it not only has a lot of history, the Turkish lira is completely devalued compared to the US dollar, so your money stretches a long way. And we had wonderful food. I just think our food was fabulous out there. Breakfasts, you know, lunches, dinners, everything. It's just really, really good. So Turkish food is wonderful.
Hey, Claudia, every now and then I send a text to Sammy.
Oh. How's he doing? I haven't talked to him since the start of COVID. I sent him a text back then, but that was
I
it.
tried them somewhere in the middle. They were still doing okay.
Yeah, yeah. Turkey has done surprisingly well in the middle of COVID. Yeah, they for some reason, I mean, not for some reason, I think they get help very, very quickly. They shut down and they made sure that people who were high risk, so if you were older or if you have underlying health concerns, they said, you guys stay back, but they continued allowing a lot of the younger people to continue working. And then when you did get sick, they quickly got you into a hospital, they got you quarantined. I think they gave you medications without even asking. So not without asking, but you know what I'm saying? Not without making you wait or whatnot.
Yeah.
Anything else? Come on, we have like a couple minutes left. Anybody has any questions about Turkey?
I was surprised at how little the tour had changed. We were there in November of 1998, and we saw essentially everything you did and went through the same, areas, plus a few that weren't included in your trip, perhaps. But it was a wonderful trip then.
It was fabulous. And that's why Sammy was trying to say, come back and do the southern, like the Aegean,
Yes.
not the Aegean, but do the southern Mediterranean coast, or go out east and go towards the Syrian, which I was like, is it safe? He was like, Claudia, if you found this safe, that's safe too. It's So yeah, this was just the Western. If you've never gone to Turkey before, this is the things you need to see, but there's more. There's more.
You did a wonderful job of covering it.
Thanks,
I
Jess.
enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
Claudia,
Yeah,
do they use a lot of chili peppers in their cuisine?
they do. They do. Sumac and red pepper flakes are a lot in our foods. In fact, when I was at the Grand Bazaar, the Spice Bazaar, I brought back with me personally, because we could all get what you want, I brought back a lot of spices. I make my kuftadidas, my meatballs, with those spices, and my chicken marinade also. But yeah, they do a lot. And then they have oftentimes, those red peppers that you saw hanging, they will put them in a vinegar brine. And when you're eating a shawarma, what's it called, a gyro, they will, they'll have them pickled in front of you. So you can just kind of eat them pickled while you're eating your.
Is there another cuisine that compares to?
It's probably close. Turkish cuisine is similar to a Greek cuisine or a Lebanese. It's kind of a cross between Lebanese and Greek. And in my opinion, sometimes there's a lot of overlap between those three cuisines, right? The Ottoman Empire was all over there. So who started what?
Thank you.
They're leaving?
No, it means they're speaking.
Oh, okay.
I hope you will offer another tour in the future. I would be very, very interested in going.
That would be great. I think Rodney's listening in right now. I want you to. Yeah, and we can talk about if we want to go back to the same Western regions and the places you just saw, or if we want to go and try out east or down south along the Mediterranean.
Whatever, I think Cappadocia would be one to definitely include.
It was real, and I've been before, but it's just such a cool place.
Right.
Claudia, sleeping in a cave was fabulous, especially my bedroom. Remember, we had the.
I have some cool pics. I have some really, so our hotel was awesome. It really was. Each room was carved from the cave, and they were all unique. And some of them were crazy. Like my room, yeah, Cindy had an amazing room. Who had that 3-level, like it had like a 3-level bedroom. Mine had a bathtub in the living room. It was kind of random, but it's like where they had space for it. Very, very clean, very cool, no air conditioning needed. Very unique, carved out. And then the rugs were all in everybody's rooms were just amazing and old. And yeah, I can't. And then I had, I wanted to try to get videos of that. I had some beautiful coffee, like just by myself in the morning. I'd wake up early and it'd be over the sunrise and you'd see the open air museum in the distance, and I would just enjoy my coffee before the day got started. And you hear the roosters cuckooing or whatever in the mornings. You remember that, guys?
Yeah, and the balloons going up. Remember?
You
can watch those go.
I'm sorry that we couldn't go on the balloon ride. I think it was most of us wanted to. There were a few that were like a little concerned, but we couldn't get all of us on. Now I know you have to let them know about a year in advance that we have a money. When I was there last, it wasn't like that. There were more hot air balloon machines. I went there with a group of friends, families, and we all got on kind of last minute. But I heard what Sammy was able to explain to me is that they kind of cracked down in the government about who could open a hot air balloon company. And there was only a limited number of companies that can go up, and so therefore limited spots. So that's what had happened.
What did you say? Claudia, do you see the comment by Vicky in the chat window?
No, sorry.
I know that you are familiar with Charlottesville, and she mentions a restaurant there that folks might want to try.
Which one? Sultan Kebab. Yeah, I have been. I'm looking down quickly through the comments. Yeah, it's a great place, but it is a kebab place. So a lot of meat, and then it's very, they make their own wraps. They make their own wraps from scratch, so it's awesome. Oh, thank you, Marilyn. Now I want to go to Turkey.
Kebab.
Yeah, Sultan Kebab, S-U-L-T-A-N, Sultan. Mics will be muted. Let me see what else. Wonderful job. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Miss you.
I miss you guys. I miss you guys. I'll be sending out an email shortly to you all for all my Cyprus travelers with more information, but we'll chat with it. Yeah, I'm going to be, I don't know how to do this. Usually I've got an email group of people who are traveling with me, and I'm going to Zoom with them when I make it out to the island. If you want to be part of it, I don't know. Maybe I could do a couple Zoom calls or something just to share with you guys Cyprus as well. It's nice to feel like you're outside of your own home sometimes. So if you want to kind of vicariously live and see some new places, feel free to shoot me an email.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Betty. Thank you, Anne. Thank you for the coffee. That was a couple people commented about it, so good call. I'm going to go read this more privately. And for those of you guys who are really interested, there is actually an app that you can download to read your coffee grinds for you.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, it's a religion out there. People are super into it.
Well, Claudia, I do want to say before ending the meeting, just thank you again. I think it's a welcome thing to be together, but to see everyone laughing and thinking about better times when we were able to be together in person. I know everybody's looking forward to that, but it reminds me of all the things we miss when we're not able to be together right now, and bringing a little of that to us today in this virtual format. Just really appreciate your time, your volunteering to provide this presentation, and then everything you add to our community.
Thank you very much, Rodney. You know how much I care about this community, so I appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks
everyone.
again, Claudia.
Thank you, Johnny. Thanks for letting me use your pictures.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, Jackie. Ah, so good to see
That
you.
was fun. Gotta go. I haven't been. I'm going with you
Time.
next time. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. Stay safe.
Bye. You too. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Rodney. And Sue.